Welcome to another episode of Smallville Meets Krypton. Don't hate me, that cliffhanger kind of happened all on its own. It wasn't my fault, but I think it was perfect timing. The conversations that we were having and the time that we'd spent together, um, it happened to just cut off, and I felt like it was a good stopping place. But I can't wait for you to hear the rest of this part of our story as we get to listen and hear the experience of what my mom went through during the pregnancy and even some of the thoughts she experienced after. I hope that you enjoy this as much as I enjoyed visiting with her, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. So you start getting sick, and you come to this conclusion that you're pregnant. And who did you tell first?
Well, I told my sister.
Okay. And how did she respond?
I almost think I think I went and got a pregnancy test.
Uh-huh.
And then I told her. And then I told her I want to call my dad and I want to go home. And she's like, what do you, she didn't know what to do.
Uh-huh.
And then she was like, well, let's tell Dave, see what he says. And then, go from there and stuff.
Okay.
But I think that in my thought process, before I even told anybody, I was thinking this is not going to be a good situation for me, or bringing a child into this situation with, I'm 14, 15 years old. This is not good.
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to raise a child,
Yeah.
I really did start thinking about adoption right then.
Okay.
If Dave didn't want anything to do with me or the baby, then I was just like, this is not gonna work. It's not fair to either one of us.
Okay.
So that was
So
kind of
you had
my
thought
thought
about it
process.
kind of from the get-go of like, I need to
Yeah,
figure out what's best here. And
yeah,
you're kind of
yeah,
probably looking at your sister and all the craziness she's got going on and trying to raise
yeah,
a child by herself. And
yeah,
she's an adult. And,
yeah,
and you're like, I don't want
yeah,
that.
yeah. Here I am in, ninth grade or something. I'm like, right. What am I
Did,
gonna do?
and
Go to work?
so,
We did have a job at the local cafe. I was a waitress at the cafe in
yeah,
Garden City for a little while.
right. Of course. Cause
But
you were of age to be
2.75 an
having a
hour.
full-time job.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. I was bussing
um,
tables.
oh, so crazy. And okay, so so she tells you should go tell Dave, and you decide to go and talk to Dave. Where did that conversation take place? Where, or what was that like?
Well, I remember him coming to her house. He came to the back porch, back door, and I walked outside. And I told him, I said, I'm pregnant. And he had his hands in his pockets, and he just kind of walked around. And Dave had kind of long, wavy blonde hair, and he mustache, and he always wore his big Sorel boots or whatever. And it was like, well, we can take care of this, and we can take care of this. So I'll just give you the money and go take care of
Mm-hmm.
it. And I'm like, that's not really what I wanted to hear. I didn't want to hear that. I wanted to hear, of course, what I wanted to hear was that he wanted to take care of me and be with me, and we could raise the baby and live happily ever after. But it was like, I told him, I said, that's not what I want to do.
Um,
And then I remember him saying, okay, well, think about it. And he basically turned around and he left and he walked away. So I knew then and there it was going to be my decision, and I was going to have to decide what the best thing to do was.
why not just have an abortion?
I don't know what drove me so hard to think that. I don't think I was more than 8 or 10 weeks. I was probably 6 or 8 weeks. So, you know, it was possible, but something just inside me just made me think that no, I'm going to have this baby, and I'll make sure it goes to a good home, and and that'll be the right thing to do.
Hmm.
That'll be the right thing to do. I don't know why.
How did if you, as you told other people about it, or did you tell anybody else besides your sister and Dave?
About the pregnancy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you told your dad, but
Well,
before you talked to your
well, then
dad,
I
did you
called
tell
my
anybody?
dad. We
Okay.
called my dad because I thought I'll just go home and live with dad, and everything will be fine, and he'll support me and help me, and you know, support my decision, and
Mm-hmm.
this will be okay. Everything will be okay.
Did you know that Judy was
And
crazy at this point, or had you really spent much time with
well,
her?
here's what happened in the meantime. So he was married to Judy in Virginia, and so I'm thinking I was in Virginia. I was probably, I don't know, gosh, 12, 13, because they were only married like 2 or 3 years. And
Oh, okay.
so by the time we left Virginia, like I'm probably missing something in between, but he divorced Judy in the meantime, and he met Susie in
Oh,
Alabama.
okay. So
So
it's
Susie's
Susie that
his
I have
next
words
wife,
for.
okay?
Okay.
Susie's the next wife, and he met her in Alabama. So he had since met her and married her. I'm trying to think if I had met her even. I don't think I had even met her until I went there from my sister's house.
Okay.
And
So you tell
um,
dad, or you call dad, and what's his response?
so I told him, and he says, it's okay. And he was very supportive. And he says, yeah, just come home. We'll take care of it. Everything will be fine.
Okay.
Everything will be fine. Because I told him I wanted to, I was considering that adoption is the best thing. And I did tell him
Uh-huh.
that I would have the baby, and I wanted to give it up for adoption and make sure it went to a good home, because I wasn't feeling like it was the right thing that I try to, you know,
Yeah.
raise a child, or, how was I going to raise a child?
Right. Right.
So next thing was a plane ticket to Alabama.
So how far along were you when you flew to Alabama, do you think?
Probably 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 months.
So basically you told
Three
dad, you
months
told grandpa,
along.
and then you just are like, all right, let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. I just felt better. I thought everything's gonna be fine. My dad still loves me, and he'll make sure everything's good. Oh
Um,
my gosh.
so you go out to you go out to Alabama, and what's that like?
Well, I had no idea. I had no idea. So when I got there, like Susie was already, she was already prepping me for, it's okay, I'll take care of the baby. We'll have the baby. We can get everything ready. And I was like, wait a minute, that's not what the plan was.
So she had already
Like,
started
she
making
wanted to
preparations
have
to
the
be
baby.
the one who was adopting or taking
Yeah.
over the baby. Okay.
Yeah. She's like, you can still change your mind. It's okay. And so after a while, she wouldn't talk to me anymore about it. And so I'm going to school. I'm enrolled back in school. I'm in ninth grade, eighth or ninth grade now.
Now you're sick. You're sick for this
Yeah.
pregnancy. So what is school
Yeah.
like for you? Going trying to get up and go to school.
Oh my gosh. So I get up and I eat some cereal and toast, and then have to run outside over the front porch and puke, and, make sure. And I'm trying to wear the tightest pants I can so people can't see that I'm pregnant,
Uh,
but that hurts.
oh
It's like
yeah.
after, after a while, it's like I'm just wearing big shirts so I can pull it down over and make sure that, they can't see my belly or my pants are unzipped
Uh-huh.
because I can't button them. And so by the time the school year was out, I was wearing pretty, puffy shirts, and I don't think it was a new school too, and people I didn't have any close friends or anything, so I went to school, did my stuff, and came home.
Wow.
Avoided making any friendships or having any friends. I had made friends with the
Uh-huh.
neighbors. I remember that specifically, and the neighbor lady, her and her husband were so nice, and they were my only friends this whole time because I
Oh.
could go over there, and they knew I was pregnant too, and I told them, but it wasn't like they could help me in any way, but they were just supportive of me, and they were my friends to go to.
Huh.
And so otherwise I would come home and go to my room. I stayed in my room. And when it got like after I got out of school, it was summertime, and so I'm, 5, 6, 7 months,
So
and
back up just a little bit. You've got this. You haven't told anybody else or talked to anybody else except the neighbors next door to you that live next door to your dad, and they know. But when you come home, you feel like you have to go straight to your room and kind of seclude yourself. Why? Why
hide,
yourself? Why? Why?
Well,
Yeah. Why
because
is that?
Judy, or not Judy, but Susie was fixated on her. She wanted me to give her that baby. She wanted to have the baby. So she was thinking
Hmm.
she's going to have it. It's going to be her baby. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And when I did that,
Hmm.
boy, it
Why?
was,
Why didn't you think that was a good
well,
idea?
because she was
I mean,
like,
you were gonna give the baby up, so
yeah, I mean, besides the fact that she was literally crazy and her family was crazy, and like this woman would sit at the table in the morning and she'd have her little can, and she would smoke like probably an ounce of pot a week, sit there and just get obliterated. And then she was one of these holy roller Christians that she said, and
uh huh.
like she would freak me out because she would stand in front of the TV and act like she's talking in tongues and stuff, and it was like I am in literal hell. So I would go straight to my room, go straight to my room, and I was just like wringing my hands every day, thinking, "How can I get out of here? How can I get? How can I get out of this mess?" And honestly, at one point when she realized that I wasn't changing my mind, that I wasn't coming to the table for her, I remember her coming into to my bedroom, and she would literally throw baby dolls at me and was pissed off because she knew she wasn't going to have this baby. And it was like total emotional torment and hell for me, because I was like, I have got to get out of here, because first of all, this is not good for me, and it's not good for me to be sitting here crying all the time, feeling sad and helpless with a child. I mean, the child's got to be
Hmm.
feeling these sad feelings too. So my something told me to reach out to my aunt in Tooele, my aunt Sue.
I I I just I am so amazed of the maturity that you had to go through or kind of experience and have to have these kinds of thoughts and kinds of make these kinds of decisions. I mean, first of all, it would have been so easy for you to just say, "Sure, Dave, just give me the money. Let's go get this done with,
Right.
and I'll be done with it, and I can just stay here and keep." I mean, you're 15, 14, 15 years old. I mean, like, um, that's so beyond your years of thinking and understanding that, like, no, the right thing to do here is to give this baby to a good family. And so,
Right.
so first of all, you make this decision to not give the baby up, or not to have an abortion. Second of all, you go to you live with your dad, and you have another opportunity where someone's like, "Here, I'll just take the baby off your hands, and you don't have to worry about it." But you still have this instinct and this drive to to say, no, this baby needs something
Yeah.
else. It needs a different home or a different environment, or definitely not this
Yeah.
hell that you're showing me, right?
Yeah.
And
That was not going to
um,
happen.
and yeah, I just it's so incredible
It
to
was difficult.
to
It
hear
was,
about that and talk. about that.
It was so difficult because I was like, I always wrestled with myself thinking, should I have had an abortion? I probably should have had an abortion. Then I should have, why did I do this? Why did I carry out? Why did I go through all this? But I always knew. I brought myself back to circle and said, this is the right thing to do. This is, this is going to be the hardest thing
Wow.
in my entire life, but I am going to do this. And I'm not going to leave this child here in this environment. There's no way. If I had to hitchhike out of there, I would have. So I knew at that
so
point,
you
I'm 7, 8 months pregnant. I knew I had to get the heck out of there quick.
you reach out to your aunt. Is this on your mom or dad's side?
She actually was married to my dad's brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she was
Is
married to my
this?
dad's
Oh, so
brother. Richard,
this is Richard's, and this is the first, his first wife. Yeah.
third, fourth wife, like third.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Third.
third
Okay.
because I think he married. Yeah, he was fourth, fifth. He was probably 5 or 6 before he died. Yeah, maybe 7.
So, how,
He was the one that was
how did
always
you?
like my mother to me, though, forever.
Uh
And
huh. Okay.
Sue was always like my mother to me. And like after my brother Tom died in Tooele, my uncle and aunt stayed here, and Richard actually got into a mine accident again. He got into a mine accident here, and I stayed a period of time with them to help them because the wall caved in on him, and I helped them
Oh
through
wow.
that. And then I went
Okay.
back and lived with my sister and all this stuff. So
Oh
that was a
okay.
short period of time then, but she was always there for me. And when I called her from Alabama and said, "Please help me get out of here," she just did. She goes, "Okay, I'm gonna send you a plane ticket."
Wow.
And I was like,
It's
"Thank God!" I knew the angels were looking out for us.
well, and I wonder if she would have done that had you not built that relationship with her by
Right,
staying in Tooele, you know, and it's incredible how sometimes, and you probably only stayed here a few months,
right,
and how powerful that time can be, and those and relationships like that can be, for
yeah,
years to come, like how they can
yeah,
affect and have impact years to come. So
yeah.
so
And then,
she's you reach out to her and say, hey, I need a ticket or I need help, and she says, okay, I'll get you a ticket.
yeah. So then the next thing was, okay, how do I tell my dad?
Yeah, and crazy Susie.
Yeah, yeah. Because I knew my dad, like, he was going to be pissed off because Susie was counting on having this baby and it was a month away.
Oh man.
And so I
Did you
remember
go to your
saying,
like prenatal appointments and stuff like that at this
yeah,
point?
yeah,
Did you
yeah.
and did you go by yourself or what was the
I can't really remember that too well, but I do remember going to a doctor for prenatal appointments.
okay?
And I was taking vitamins and stuff, but wasn't like, so it just doesn't, I don't have a vivid recall of who the doctor was or anything. So maybe it was because I
Yeah.
knew that that wasn't going to be the ultimate place for me to have the child, So I remember
But you just kind of went by
specifically,
yourself, and maybe
yeah,
Susie went, or maybe
she
not, maybe
probably
your
dropped
dad.
me off and waited in the car or something, and I went in or whatever. But I
Wow.
don't remember a lot about those appointments. But then um, I do remember telling my dad that day because we were sitting on the edge of my bed in the bedroom, and he sat down by me, and I said, "I'm leaving. I'm going to Tooele, and I'm going to have the baby there." And he was pissed, boy. He was like, "All right, then." He'd get that look on his face, but I knew he was pissed.
Why was he
And
so mad?
he
Just
was
because he was
mad
afraid of
because,
Susie, or
yeah, I think that because he thought, Susie probably convinced him or they had convinced each other that oh, when she has it, it'll be fine. She'll hand it over. It'll be ours. You know, it'll all be okay. She won't give it up or this or that. And I
And
was like,
someone who wasn't as resilient and as strong-willed as you probably would have. They
yeah,
probably would have just said,
oh
"Fine,
yeah,
just take it. I don't
yeah,
care," you
yeah,
know. But you,
yeah.
you've you've had to like exhibit this strength for so long. I mean, you I mean,
Hmm.
in even the short time that we've talked of the things that you've covered in terms of your mom and the craziness that she brought, and your uncle and your brother, and just and all this, and then the constant moving. I mean, like, you had built a strength that I think most of us would envy to have.
Well, and I
So
think too, it just, I feel like I was different out of all six kids. I was just different that I wanted a different outcome
mhm,
for myself. I wanted to have a different outcome. And I wasn't thinking to give the baby up for adoption for myself. It's because I knew that was the right
mm,
thing for both of us. That if we were both going to be stuck in Alabama, that it was not going to be a good
mhm,
situation for either one of us.
exactly.
Either one of us, and so I just kept in my mind, I just kept saying and knowing that this is the right thing to do. This is what's going to happen. I'm
Yeah,
not changing course. I'm just not going to change course. And I think later when I found out that my Aunt Sue, she had actually, when she was young, had a baby and given it up for adoption. So I think she knew and she felt for me and we were so close that she knew I needed to be rescued and this was something that needed to
yeah.
happen. And she was very supportive of me the whole time. And, you know,
So
e-
she never felt like she was a bad idea that she gave hers up for adoption, because obviously she never found her child.
no,
Um,
mm,
but
no,
she didn't think, oh, you know what, you should actually, like, did she talk about an open adoption or anything like
no,
that? Or was that even an
no.
option at this point?
No, and like I said, this is back in the 80s, and so
Yeah, yeah.
barely, it's barely coming to the point where you don't just send the girls off to
Uh
some
huh. To
mysterious
the, yeah.
school and they come back and it's
Uh
all,
huh.
we went to
Yep, it's all over.
camp
Yep.
for a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah. So
But I think,
she gets you a ticket and you fly out to Tooele,
hmm
and you're 8.5 months pregnant. How long after getting here did you have me?
it was probably 3 or 4 weeks, like at least
Wow.
3, 4 weeks,
Okay.
4 weeks, because I remember sitting on the plane, I was big. And they gave me a first class seat. Even they're like, because it was a red eye. It was some cheap ticket or whatever. It was a red eye
Uh
or whatever,
huh.
and I didn't care. I was like, she's like, here, you can sit in first class. I'm like, okay.
Oh, that's
Take it.
awesome.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Luxurious, I'm sure.
Yeah, but that was the
So,
happiest. I was like, if I just felt like a whole cloud was lifted off of my shoulders. That my life was just that I was rescued out of prison.
wow.
I didn't care if my dad ever spoke to me again. I didn't care if anybody ever spoke to me again from that perspective because I was like, you guys were just like, they had me captive. I was a prisoner and they were going to
Wow.
take the baby from me and they were going to do whatever they wanted. That's
That's
was
horrible.
going to happen. It
Yeah.
was scary.
God. So you you get back here, and what what was the what was that birth experience like for you? Going into the hospital, did your water break? Did you just did you plan a date, or what was the plan there?
No, so I was going to the doctor and I remember that like the baby never dropped. It was always right up here under my ribs. It was always right up here. I just like, oh my God. But um, my aunt was taking a paramedic course.
Uh huh.
And so she was doing her thing. And I remember we had to take a ride to Grantsville and go drop off her course or something. And on the way down there, I kept feeling like, oh my gosh, that hurts. And I felt like I had gas or something, but it was my whole stomach was tightening up. But then it was like, okay. And I was like, okay, now that don't hurt. And then it started hurting again. And when she got back in the car, I go, I think something's happening. And she goes, what? And I go, well, my stomach really hurts. And so I was starting to have labor. And then when I started labor, I think as it got like a minute apart, like later that day, that night, we went to the hospital.
Uh-huh.
Never broke water. Just labor was like it was like a minute apart. Like I was going to
Oh,
have
man.
the baby, but 36 hours later,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
36 hours later, it was like, oh, please do something. But they were just like, okay, well, something's got to give here because either the baby will be in distress or she's not going to make it. So,
Yeah.
so they finally decided to do a C-section, and that was the best thing that ever
Was
happened right
any
there.
was so while you were in the hospital for 36 hours, you were doing something. What were you doing? You were
Just
making
thinking about
something.
stuff. Oh, yeah. Well, um, I didn't make that blanket until after I had you.
Really?
Yes. No, I didn't. I wasn't doing anything. I was
You
labor
were
and
just in pain.
and dying.
Okay. All
I
right.
was,
Okay.
yeah. So then, yeah, after I had you, though, I think I might have even bought the yarn and stuff before. I might have had my aunt bring it to me after because I knew I had to stay in the hospital for maybe 4 days, 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
But
a big
it,
process.
yeah, and then after I had you, I started crocheting that blanket. I never stopped until I finished it. I
Where
probably
did you
stayed
learn
up
to
24
crochet?
7. My mother,
Oh.
my mom taught me how to crochet, and she used to make beautiful blankets and table doilies and stuff, little, you know. But she taught me how to do the crochet, the chain kind, and so I picked out that yarn, that variegated color blue, and I thought this will be the blanket that I'll send with him.
Wow. What was
And I made it in 3 days.
Yeah, that's incredibly fast. You were definitely
Yeah,
crocheting like
I
the
was
wind.
cruising along, but my mind was going 100 miles an hour too, and it was like I I mean, I held you and I fed you and I sat in the nursery with you and everything. It was like it was really the toughest thing there's never going to be anything tougher in my life that I'll do
Wow.
ever,
Yeah. Did you
you know.
did you have any different thoughts after I was born and you thought,
Oh yeah.
should I keep him? Should I?
Oh yeah. Yeah. But then I felt like I can't take him home to my aunt's house, and I can't, what am I going to do then?
Yeah.
And so I just knew I was like, I gotta know that, God and the angels are going to make sure this is the right thing. I wouldn't feel this way if it wasn't the right thing to do. And, someday I would be reunited.
Wow. Uh,
It's an amazing thing to think of that how it would have been really easy just to say, no, I'm keeping this child and
yeah.
I'll figure it out. I'll get on welfare or do whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
like, really, I don't want that kind of life for him. And I don't want that kind of life for me. And what kind of, then what'll happen?
Yeah. And that level
So,
of, again, just another example of that level of maturity to recognize that and recognize how important um, those decisions you made. I mean, I know at the time you probably just thought I'm just doing the right thing and I'm just doing what I should do. But I don't think you will ever fully comprehend how much those minor, small, insignificant, or what felt like insignificant decisions to you will have, or the effect that they have had on so many other people's lives, especially mine, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, there's always there was always the thought in my mind that did I did I do the right thing? Did I do the right thing?
Mm-hmm.
Was that the right thing to do? Was I being selfish? Was I being selfish? You just I always questioned myself, and I always wondered, and I always just tried to, bring myself back around and know that, you know, that was the right thing to do, that that's what was meant to happen.
Yeah, I
I mean, I had gone through the whole entire pregnancy that I just needed to stay steadfast with my decision and make sure that this was going to be the right outcome.
those days afterwards, I can't imagine the thoughts that went through your head,
Mm,
and the so many times you probably felt that of like, ah, shoot, why
yeah.
did I do that?
Well, I just remember walking around my aunt's house in my house coat, just being just sad and crying all the time, and wonder. I just felt so empty and so questioning myself. Did I do the right thing? And I felt like I should be holding a baby.
Mm-hmm.
It was difficult
Yeah,
to say the
I bet.
least.
I
It was difficult.
I love the fact that your thought process is am I being selfish? And you're, even in that moment you're thinking, oh well, I'm being selfish because I took the easy way out. But the easy way out was
Yeah.
when you talked to Dave and he said we can take care of this. That was the easy way out. Or the easy way out could have been when you
Yeah.
got to your dad's and Susie said, we'll take care of the baby, don't worry about it. And you could have said,
Yeah.
sure, fine. And you
Here
you
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 go.
you absolutely did not take the easy way out. You took the hardest possible path and lived with 9 months of knowing this baby was going somewhere, but not knowing where, and having little to no support of your decision, and nobody really appreciating it until you finally, 8.5 months later, you finally have an advocate with your aunt who is like, hey, I've been there.
Yeah.
But even then it's like
Yeah.
she's still your aunt, and it's very little to as far as support goes, and now you're home, you're recovering from a C-section, which will always be with you because we know how wonderful
Yeah.
those scars last, and and
Yeah.
and um, and so
Yep.
every day of your life you would look down and see that reminder of this child you gave up.
Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
what were Mother's
Yeah.
Days like, or holidays like after that?
Yeah. Well, it was more so just, I didn't think about holidays or Mother's Day. I thought more about your
Mm,
birthday, because your birthday was never a time that went by that I didn't think, where is he? What's happening? And what I wish I could just see him. I wish I could just know everything's okay.
yeah.
Every day, every
Mm-hmm.
year. And when the birthdays came around was the hardest, but there wasn't a day, that ever went by that I was not like thinking, what's happening? Where is he? What's happening to him? Is he
Yeah.
okay? You know, you have children of your own now. I mean, there's never a day that you don't think
Mm-hmm.
about them. I mean, of course you're with them, but I mean, it's just something that you don't, as a mother, you would never lose that
Yeah.
thought, because that's a part of
Right.
you. Where's a part of you is out there. You need to know where it's at.
Well, and like you
And
said, it's,
the love for you is never,
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, the love for a child, it never
Yeah.
lessens from the time they're born till you just don't ever lessen that love. And it's like, it was always in the back of my mind, where is
Hmm.
he? Where is he? Will I see him again? And when will I see him again?
Oh man. Um,
Right.
did anybody else meet me before you had to turn me over,
I think my sister might have come to see me.
Shelly?
I know she came to, I think Shelly came to see me and brought me a sweater. And I'm not sure, but I think she did see you. And my aunt saw you, but that was it. And like I said, I mean, every opportunity I got, I held you and fed you. And I remember sitting in the nursery with you and feeding you. And
Hmm.
leaving the hospital without you was the hardest thing in the universe. It
Oh
was
man.
like to this day, I remember going out to the truck. My uncle came to get me, and going out empty handed was like, oh my God, will I be able to? Every step was painful.
Yeah.
It was painful.
Yeah,
you
I can
know?
imagine. I can imagine how, after everything you've been through and everything you've kind of suffered through,
Yeah,
and to come away from something like that empty-handed per se, it would just be
yeah,
it would just be
yeah,
devastating. When you
yeah. So
during the
it was
pregnancy,
like,
when you found out that it was a boy, um, what did you think? What was your thoughts?
um, I'm trying to think if I knew it was a boy before I
Oh,
had you. I don't
oh,
think I knew.
that's cool too.
I
I
didn't
mean,
know.
you wouldn't have a lot of reason
Yeah,
to prepare
yeah, I
for.
never,
So,
yeah, yeah. I don't think I knew. I never did find out.
did this experience make it harder or affect you as it pertains to, when you got pregnant with Brandy and your other and your children? Like, did it ever, like, did this come back and kind of not haunt you, but just kind of bother you at all?
Well, it didn't bother me. It was more so that I looked forward. I wanted to have a baby so bad, and I wanted a
Yeah.
boy really bad. So when I had Brandy, I was actually like, "Oh, it's a girl." I think I've told her that too. And then when I had Candace, I'm like, "Oh, it's a girl." No. And so
Oh my
Tom comes
goodness.
along, and it was like, "Oh my gosh, I got my boy!" And it was like, but
Oh.
it was. I mean, I love my girls more than anything in the world, but there was always that longing that I just wanted to have that boy again. I just
Hmm.
wanted to have. I just wanted a baby again, and I was so happy that when I did have my kids, that it was the right time, it was the right thing, and you know, it,
Yeah.
it is. We actually, planned and decided to have a baby, and it all worked out really well. And it's such a
Uh-huh.
different environment than, oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
What you
by
went through.
yourself and trying to, think about how you're even going to survive yourself, let alone, you know, like I would have been living with my sister still, or who knows where I would have ended
Mm-hmm.
up.
Yeah. Or I
But
could have been in Alabama. Oh man,
yeah,
that'd have been
yeah.
crazy.
Oh man. Oh my gosh, that would have been the worst for anybody.
Yeah.
But
When you
yeah.
when you got married, did your husband know that you had a child
Hmm.
before?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I made it known. I mean, I wasn't going to try to hide anything, and there wasn't hiding any scars either. So it's like,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know, it's kind of obvious.
Uh-huh. That's a good point.
But yeah, it's like, hmm. But yeah, it was. He never had any issues with it, and it was always a something I was open and honest with about with him and my kids.
Awesome.
It's always something that I wasn't never ashamed of.
I love that.
Yeah.
I have just one more question tonight,
Okay.
and then I'll let you go. Thank you so much, first of all, for sharing all of this. Again, my hope is that someone else will hear this, someone who might not be as strong as you are, and might take courage and hope that the decision they're making
Mm,
to maybe place a child or to keep a child and not have an abortion might come through something like this. And so, if you, I guess I kind of have two questions, but really, if you were to talk to Trina of 1982, what would you tell her today? What would you say to her? Or would you tell her anything different?
I don't think so. I think I would reaffirm that the decision that I made was the right decision, even though it was as tough as it was, and it would have been so much easier just to walk away from the hospital with the baby and try to figure out, go get on welfare or do this or that or struggle through life. But the struggles that I think about that would have put you through and me through, and
Mm-hmm.
just not being able to give you the life that you would deserve, I think that I wouldn't change the decision today. I would make the same decision, and like I've told you a lot of times, the trials and tribulations that I've gone through in my entire life, I still wouldn't trade my life for anybody else's.
I love that. I love that.
Ever.
And the last thing I would ask is there anything you would share with a teenager who was in a circumstance similar to yours or currently is in one? What would you tell them?
I think that I think the biggest thing is that you have to follow your own heart and do what your heart says and what you feel is the right thing. And, maybe um, keeping the child or adoption, one of the two, one of there, I mean, there's a few decisions, but, like you said, many times you don't think about the impact that one decision of not having an abortion has had on your life and my life
Mm-hmm.
versus even keeping the child, and maybe trying to struggle through things is an option. Or everybody has different circumstances, so I think you just got to do what your heart says and what you know is right in your heart.
Awesome. Well, Mom, thank you so
That's
much
me.
again. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing all this. And I can't wait to continue the discussion into more of when we finally get reunited. That's the exciting stuff, right? The fun stuff.
Yeah.
So, um,
That's a good story.
but again, thank you so much. We love you, and we're so grateful to you. So, and
Thank
grateful that
you, and
you
I love you too,
made that
Colby.
choice.
Yeah, thank you, hon.
Love you too. We'll see you.
Okay.